This is Stephen Lorenzo.
So I'm asking you to give me the death sentence because that'll be more comfortable for me to live out my lifetime.
Who was facing charges for multiple homicides in Tampa Bay, Florida. According to police reports, Lorenzo and accomplice Scott Schweer collaborated to murder Jason Galehouse and Michael Wachholtz in his Seminole Heights home almost 2 decades ago. Lorenzo and Schweer lured the victims to Lorenzo's home after getting them drunk at a bar, according to police reports. Galehouse and Wachholtz's cause of death was blunt force to the head. Both would later be ruled homicides. The victims were dismembered and placed in trash bins throughout Tampa. Now, we go to Lorenzo's courtroom proceedings, where he's forced to face his victim's mother.
And I can tell you right now, I am sick of my stomach just to have to look at your disgusting face. And you pulled away and you laughed about it. Laughed! What the hell is wrong with you? You are a sick person, and I wish to God somebody would cut you up in pieces, because that's what you deserve.
Judge Christopher Sabella would then ask Lorenzo the same question everyone's wondering.
I just wanted to know why they're dead.
Mr. Schweiker wanted to have a video done of him having experience as a master. He was trying, and I was videotaping. Mr. Schweiker got carried away. He lost control. But anyway, he lost control. The kid started to scream and get all upset. We realized that the kid was going to probably call the police on all of us. So we had a powwow and we said, this kid can't leave. He's going to identify all 4 of us. So that was why the decision was made.
Lorenzo shows no remorse for his actions, which infuriated the judge.
I cannot tell you how much what I hear from you infuriates me.
Before the sentence is read, the judge asks if anyone would like to speak. Lorenzo raises his hand.
Does anybody need to be heard? So nobody wants to speak?
Change of hands, yes sir.
That's not a problem. Ready to proceed to sentencing. Oh, Mr. Lorenzo, yes, you're raising your hand.
No one was prepared for what the double murderer would say next.
At my age, I want to be comfortable. So I'm asking you to give me the death sentence. I know I can be on death row for about 10 to 15 years, which I think is crazy. The sooner that I get euthanized, as far as I'm concerned, the faster I can get, the sooner I can fetch myself a new body and come back again.
Stephen Lorenzo is actively seeking the death penalty, but would Judge Sabella grant the confessed murderer?
And I don't know if what you say is perhaps some form of reverse psychology, nor do I care. I will not consider what you want in issuing my sentence. Ti condanno a morte. That translates to, I sentence you, Mr. Lorenzo, to death.
Lorenzo thanks the judge.
Thank you, Your Honor. I
And
appreciate it.
Mr. Lorenzo, may God have mercy on your soul.
My soul is fine, thank you, sir.
Stephen Lorenzo took the life of 2 people he met at a bar.
Just to have to look at your disgusting face.
I'm asking you to give me the death sentence.
Next, we have a woman who tried to take the life of her own life partner. This is Diana Lovejoy. She used to be married to Greg Malvihill living in Carlsbad, California, but soon their marriage fell apart and they divorced. After a messy divorce and lots of legal trouble, it ended with the court ordering Diana to pay $120,000 to Greg for his stake in their family house. The court also ordered that she must share custody of their son. Diana became furious upon hearing the court orders, so she planned to kill her ex-husband by teaming up with her boyfriend, Weldon McDavid. Greg was shot in the torso, but luckily, the bullet didn't hit his heart, and he survived. Both McDavid and Diana conspired to murder, and the court has sufficient evidence against them.
It's so painful that some people in this world seem to think that I would have it in me to do this.
Interestingly, she fainted in court. She lowered her head down toward the defense table for a few seconds.
Verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty of the crime of attempted murder of Greg Mulvihill.
And right when you hear guilty, you hear a thud.
Guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
It silenced the courtroom, aside from hearing her family cry in the background. She then is brought onto the floor. And when when medics bring her out, she still appears to be passed out, but doctors later found out she had only fainted. Weldon McDavid received 50 years to life in prison because he was the one that pulled the trigger, and Diana was sentenced to 26 years to life in prison. Diana's reaction in her sentence was contrasting. However, next we witness a situation that infuriates and enrages the judge, like in the case of Camia Gamet. The judge grows so tired of her continued interruptions and insolence, he makes a highly unusual threat. Gamet is appearing before Judge John McBain for sentencing after being found guilty of the murder of her disabled boyfriend, Marcel Hill. The 31-year-old Gamet has a violent nature, and there was a history of domestic violence against Hill, who suffered from mental illness and cognitive impairment. In 2012, this abuse culminated in his murder when, in a fit of rage, Gamet stabbed Hill 11 times in their Mississippi home, cutting his torso open with a knife. Gamet refuses to take accountability for the crime, claiming that she was attacked with a lamp in the dark by an unknown assailant and responded in self-defense. She alleges that it was only when she turned the light on after stabbing her attacker that she realized it was her boyfriend Hill.
I also remember the cries of help that he screamed as you plunged that knife in and out of his body.
Her hearing today begins with Hill's aunt giving an impact statement to the court about the ongoing trauma that his death has caused. However, Gamet takes issue with the content of the statement and can be seen rolling her eyes and snickering throughout, growing more incensed by her lack of respect and repeated interruptions. Judge McBain finally snaps and issues a threat to Gamet.
And you're gonna shut your mouth or I'm gonna have some duct tape put on it.
Unfortunately, no duct tape can be found, and when it comes to Gamet's turn to address the court, her lack of insight is astounding. You won't believe how the judge responds.
We'll wait here for a moment so we can get her quiet.
Basically, at trial, the way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies.
Thankfully, Judge McBain isn't having any of it, and he explodes, reproaching Gamet for the callous and calculated nature of the murder.
You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
Gamet is ultimately sentenced to life in prison, and she continues to sneer and roll her eyes as she is led from the court to face her punishment. She later appeals the sentence, claiming that the judge failed to remain impartial. She is denied, and her conviction for first-degree murder stands. Camia Gamet case is a prime example of crazy case. However, 100-mile-per-hour car chase might even be considered to be a little more crazy, like in the infamous case of Ryan Stone. This is Ryan Stone, a Colorado man that went on a crime spree that spanned 5 counties and was broadcasted live by a news station's helicopter. Stone was convicted of carjacking 3 vehicles, including one with a 4-year-old inside the SUV. Authorities said when Stone sped away, he led police on a chase at speeds over 100 miles per hour. If we rewind here, you can just barely see a vehicle that Stone was driving, clipping a trooper with a Colorado State Patrol as he was trying to place stop sticks. He ended up with serious injuries. You see Stone pull out another victim from their vehicle and drive off. He heads right into a busy intersection, and now the chase is on foot. He books it off the road into a parking lot, running in between 2 buildings. As he slips on the ice, he loses his jacket. Now, there's just a fence in his way, but nope, it's too high. Cops now close in, and he finally surrenders. Stone is now in the county jail, but he believes he should be getting paid for his internet fame while breaking the news to his friends about the high-speed chase.
Hey, did you know I made the news in the UK and Australia? What? Yeah, you get paid by YouTube. So, Channel 7 News, I believe, is going to be the one that gets paid for that. Well, I'm going to contact Channel 7 News. I want to get paid. You guys are getting paid using my name and my video footage.
During his opportunity to address the court about the recordings in jail, Stone blames it on emotional stress and the use of drugs.
We are going through trial after that. It's a week-and-a-half trial. Extremely stressful. One of the phone calls about seeming like I was bragging about making international news, this, that, and the other. That was within the first week of being arrested. Still coming off of drugs.
Stone was convicted of 18 charges, including attempted manslaughter, child abuse, and assault. Then the judge sentenced him to 160 years in prison. Ryan's reaction drew people to his case, but however, his reaction doesn't compare with the reaction of Tyrone Johnson.
Right, because if you hyperventilate, if you pass out, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Do it with me, right?
Who is facing 2 counts of murder for the slaying of his then-girlfriend Stephanie Willis and her 10-year-old son Ricky, according to reports. Johnson and his girlfriend got into a heated argument over what the family would watch on TV.
You changed the TV? Okay.
Johnson continued to sob as he explained the argument became far too personal when Stephanie blamed him for his son's recent suicide.
She said, I see why your son killed himself like because you're and I called him back and I said, come and get me.
Johnson then called his father for help, but it was during the phone call with his father that Tyrone lost it.
That he hears the phone drop and 2 shots.
On trial, Johnson argued that Stephanie's son Ricky ran into the room when he heard the chaos in the crossfire. However, prosecutors refused this version of events.
He went and hunted down that little boy and shot him under a bed. We have shell casings, we have blood, we have holes in the wall.
Prosecutors say this was a cold and calculated double murder by Johnson.
During his sentencing hearing, Johnson was given the chance to speak. He was heard pleading for mercy and arguing his innocence.
Truly remorseful and deeply sorry. The state, knowing nothing about me, would have you believe that before you was a vicious man who went hunting for human lives.
Now the victim's family gets the chance to address the court.
Grief we feel is never ending. Every minute of every day.
We will never watch him grow up, never see who he would have become.
The judge went on to explain how atrocious the murders were.
Suffice it to say that a precious child is dead. This murder was heinous, atrocious, and cruel.
And now, the sentence.
For those acts, I sentence you to death.